Hello, everybody, and welcome to Honey Badger Radio. My name is Brian. I'm here with Allison, and this is another episode of Maintaining Frame. I believe this is number 19. We've almost done 20 of these since changing the title. Twitter's Patuki exposed by Project Veritas. What? I don't know what a Patuki is, but I can guess.
It's like I think Scottish slang for butt.
Really?
We just got demonetized and kicked off YouTube for saying it. Yes, for a bottom. So essentially, it means that Twitter's bottom has been exposed by Project Veritas.
Yeah.
Which, I think we got two contenders for ass cheeks of the year. Oh shoot, I said ass.
I think ass is okay to say.
Okay, so before we do this, I'd like to remind everyone that we have our monthly fundraiser ongoing at feedthebadger.com/project/badger-media-blitz. And if at any point during the stream you wish to contact us and talk to us and send us a comment, you can do so at feedthebadger.com/justthetip. That's feedthebadger.com/justthetip. And we shall read out your messages on air. And that is the best place to get us, because to get to us, to get a message through to us, and you can do it after the show as well, because nobody monitors that except us. So it's just up to our discretion. It's not up to PayPal. It's not up to YouTube to decide to let it through. Eye it and see if there's any suspicious content in your comments. So it goes directly to us, no censorship, and we get the entirety of the amount except for fees, which that gets taken out of everything. So with that said, shall we begin diving into the videos?
Let's take a look. So we're gonna be looking at 2 video clips. Maybe there'll be other things too.
I'll keep my eye on the hashtag.
Yeah, and they are so these are on Twitter, put out by Project Veritas. Project Veritas is like they're an independent investigative journalist company. I think that's the most fair way I could describe them. They specialize in is essentially they send in beautiful women like honeypots. They go into these companies. They start like dating someone, or they go on a date with someone, and then they ply them with liquor, and then they get them to confess a bunch of stuff.
I think in this case, there was a man who was also involved.
Yes,
it's not just women.
It's not just women. Yeah, it's not just women, but usually that's how it plays out. But that's the funny thing is, that one of the video leaks is actually a man on a date with another man, and he's spilling the beans, on all kinds of stuff. So I guess the first one I have is the 2 men on a date together. So let me share. I forgot to do this. I got to share my browser, so I may have to move some things around here.
We're gonna get this peek behind the curtain. See the wizard behind the curtain, eh?
Well, I don't really want to show this. Give me a second. Let me. May have to like.
All right, so since Brian is doing that, let me just tell you once again, if you want to send your comments through, you can go to feedthebadger.com/justthetip. And if you want to support the show, we do have our monthly fundraiser on at feedthebadger.com/project/badger-media-blitz. You can also go to feedthebadger.com and follow the pop-ups. Best way to get a comment to us, feedthebadger.com/justthetip. And the best way to support us is feedthebadger.com/projects/badger-media-blitz. I need to make that URL sexier, and I will at some point.
Yeah.
All right, we ready to go?
Almost. I just had to move some things around so that because of the nature of OBS. So
it looks like Elon Musk did respond to this, and he asked, "Is it legit?" At least one of them. So I guess we'll see.
as long as he's asking. All right, so here is now I'm gonna play the clip. Here is it's like a segment from, I believe, a video that's like 7 minutes long.
Ooh.
Which is what led us
What was that?
I hope Project Veritas releases the whole video so we can make sure that they didn't
Take them out
edit
of
it
context.
deceptively.
Yeah, I mean, I
Like,
know that
somehow, like,
there's. Yeah, I mean, like that's come up
mhm,
before, but I don't know. It's kind of hard to refute. But okay, well, anyway,
mm,
let's go ahead and play these clips. Because
mm,
what I would imagine is that yeah, it would probably be a good idea to put the whole thing out there, but
mm,
they have to make sure that they don't compromise the identity of their investigator or their honeypot or whatever you want to call it, and they also probably want to bleep things out, you know, that reveal that person's identity because
mm,
I guarantee you that these people are that do this stuff, they probably have to worry about like you know
mm,
retribution or recompense from
mm,
the people
mm,
that they investigate, and also it's likely like the case that most of the night is pretty boring because it takes
mm,
time, you know, to get
mhm.
people like
To
comfortable
seduce it
and you're
out,
yeah, exactly. But I mean, I still am for that
to work up to the
if that
money
makes
shot,
sense. Mm-hmm. So, all right. Well, anyway, let's start at the beginning.
Well, right now
Okay.
we don't make profit, so it's going to say ideology, which is what's led us to not being profitable.
The rest of us who have been here believe in something that's good for the planet and not just to give people free speech.
All right, I'm gonna pause it there because I think that's
You're
important. Yes. What? Do I
yeah.
sound weird?
Okay. No, no, no. Yeah, you sound good. Okay. No, I'll let you finish your thought there.
Oh,
I'm
did you?
cogitating. I'm digesting that bit. So you want to do something good for the planet?
Yeah,
Presumably, you know what that is better than anyone. So you're not about free speech, but not
yeah,
free speech. That's not good for the planet, apparently.
yeah,
All right.
yeah.
This is
So
off to a great start.
well, it makes sense because like to me, none of this
Hmm.
surprises me because I've talked about this on the show. I've talked about I you know Lindsay and I talk about this a lot too. Um, but the thing that I think is the most well in this first section, I think there's a very important takeaway that a lot of people miss because they mistakenly blame uh, corporate greed for
Mm,
the things going on in big tech companies and YouTube
mm,
and streaming services and all this other stuff. And the truth is, that's not it. They don't care about money. And I've said this many times. Most of these people, they work like 4 hours a week. They take
mm,
home more than enough to take care to have all their needs met.
mm.
And they are generally motivated by their ideology, not by you know money,
Well,
by not by financial gain. I don't think it's about money because
no, but think about it. They work like, and we're quoting somebody from this actual the next video. I think
yeah,
either that or that's generally disseminated that they're working 4 hours a week. I don't know, like a 4 hour a week um work week, and you're making like 300,000. That sounds like it's a pretty plum deal there. I'd be
yeah, but
jealous of losing that too.
well, I can understand that, but
Not
the
really
thing
because I
is,
have ethics, but
it's not sustainable. So they're not going to be able to keep making that kind of money, and Twitter itself isn't making any money, or at least not turning a profit. And
mhm,
but I mean, I think it speaks to the real thing here, though. It's not really
mm,
about money. It's about control. It's about power. It's
mm,
about access, and
yeah,
that's what Twitter and the people who work in these sort of Silicon Valley, you know, social media sites,
mm,
that's what they're really interested in. And
mhm,
people they miss this a lot because because like the truth is this, okay? If Twitter only existed to turn a profit, it wouldn't be censoring people. It wouldn't be banning
mhm,
people from the platform. It would
mhm,
be finding every excuse possible to improve the platform so that
mm,
competitors like Gab or Getter
mhm,
or you know Parlor or whatever else is out there, they would
mhm,
want to outdo them, but they don't. Instead, they control their platform, they control its message, they kick people off. I've been permanently banned. Karen
mm.
has been permanently banned. I don't
I
know
had to
how.
stick it.
Yeah,
I have no
I
idea
don't.
how, but
Well, I think that you're starting to see more activity on your Twitter, so you might you. Well, the thing is, it's changing management now, so
mm,
maybe you're okay. But like, the way that Twitter operates has no interest whatsoever in trying to make it a profitable enterprise. They have no interest in that, and it's important for people to get that through their heads, because when you are so ideologically motivated, money doesn't matter. It's like religious conviction, right? And also, most of the people that work there, they do get like their needs met, so it's not like they're in dire straits. They get money from the government, they get money from investors, like the Saudi prince that's on the board. They get stuff, so they're gonna be like taken care of to the degree that they're not necessarily gonna have a workers' uprising. So that's and here's the last thing. I think this is also interesting too. I learned that the people who started Twitter, like the people who like built it, the engineers and programmers and such, they're no longer working at the company, and they haven't been for a long time.
Wow.
And everyone who runs Twitter now would not be able to actually maintain Twitter, which is why Twitter hasn't improved. It hasn't evolved in any way, because no one knows, like no one who was there when it was built is with the company anymore, right? So what does it mean? Well, all they can do is keep it running in the way that that it appears to be running, and most of them are flying by the seat of their pants. So
well, 4-hour work weeks.
Yeah, exactly. And that's another thing, because like my understanding is that if Musk goes through with it, because there's a whole other story with like that the user base is there's a lot more bots on there than he thought, and so there might not be much left of Twitter after you get rid of the bots. But assuming that he does end up buying it or taking it over, because right now I think the purchase is a little bit in limbo, because he was told something about how many bots there were, but it turns out that it's probably not accurate.
There's probably way more bots.
Yes. Like the word is that like President Joe Biden's followers, half of them are bots. Half. And
wow.
I don't know how many followers he has, but that's what they're saying is like 49.3% of Joe Biden's followers are bots. And so, or they're fake accounts or whatever you want to call it. So like, but if Elon buys it, he's already said he's going to be firing like all of the fat, like is going to get cut off and removed. And he has a number of people that he's already spoken to and hired to essentially take over. But this is only if he decides to go through with it. Which may happen, depending on if he can turn it around. He might see it as a challenge. I don't know. So, those are all of the interesting things that I thought I would mention. And again, this only tells you that, it's not about money though. I mean, for Musk it is. He's like, well, I want to, make this profitable, but not, not the employees at Twitter. So.
All right. Okay. Well, I'll see how long I can keep my shades
Contain
off.
yourself. Okay.
Yeah, I can contain myself.
All right. Let us continue then.
Because again, like, these people really do believe in what we're doing. These are the policies we put in place for misinformation or mislabeling media or whatever.
So, because I know that the voice volume isn't great because they're in this noisy bar or nightclub or whatever, but he's basically saying that the people that work at Twitter really believe in what they're doing, and that they have policies that Twitter puts in place for misinformation or mislabeling media or whatever. Those are his exact words. So they believe that they should control the narrative, essentially. And so they're just anointed, right? They're just chosen.
I actually love what this guy says, because I'm gonna go. I'll take you into like a little deep dive into my brain, and I'm probably gonna confuse everyone, but maybe Brian will get something out of it when he gets to a particular statement that he makes that just made my head explode. Like I want to understand you, sir. I want to know why you think the way you do, where it comes from. You know,
Yep.
because you are such a fascinating specimen of thought. You know, like just the way your thoughts work, the way the gears move in your mind. And I don't understand it at all. So I feel like there's like a gap that could be bridged. And I really want to bridge it. I want to understand him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. You probably have to be more emotional.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
Why do you think this should be taken down?
Yeah.
Like, those are the questions they're going to ask him.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's going to be hard for him to be like, oh, because people should make their own decision. It's like, no, but people don't know how to make a rational decision if you don't put out correct things that are supposed to be out in the public.
So, again, he's basically saying that adults like you and I cannot be trusted to make decisions about, you know, content they find on social media, about basically anything, and that they need to filter it.
Yeah, they need to filter it. And I remember having, I think this individual has a similar thought process to another person that I spoke with on Twitter. And they said that the average human being can't make decisions for themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this individual also said, you know, I told him that free speech, when somebody is giving me the ability to look through the evidence and come to my own conclusions, I trust them a lot more. Because if they have a conclusion and they're willing to put out the evidence that they came to that conclusion with, even the evidence that they didn't use, and they're willing to let you look at it, it doesn't look like they're lying about it. So if you have all of the evidence and you can look at and you can sift through it and somebody is allowing you to do that, you trust their opinion more. And he essentially said, well, they're giving you free speech because most likely because they agree with you or they agree with the thoughts that you're thinking. And I'm like, that is so tribalist. You know what I mean? It's like, we can't have a commons and we can't have a common question anymore. And we can't trust each other to sift through the information and come to our respective conclusions, legitimate conclusions, and debate them anymore. Because you can't trust your fellow man to come to a reasonable conclusion. The only conclusions are going to be tribalist conclusions. They're not going to be ones based on evidence or logic, but they're going to be ones based on ideology and tribal, you know, like our tribal ideologies. And well, I'm like, go ahead.
Well, I was just saying that's what these people believe. It's projection.
So
but
you can't have everything comes down to this kind of gang signaling, gang colors. Like your set of beliefs are your gang affiliation, and you can't allow each other freedom of speech because I don't know, maybe your rival gang will grow bigger than you or something. And it's like that is such the opposite of how we got to this prosperous system. I mean, it's about free speech, and free speech enables innovation, and it enables productivity through innovation. That's where it comes from. You get rid of that, you're going to get rid of all the productivity that we rely on to have a legitimate society. And I'm like, and you're going to do it because you're afraid of what? And you know what? I don't even know if it's necessarily completely tribalism. I think it's fear of being wrong.
Yes.
Because that's the thing, you know. If you allow free speech, you allow people to say what they want to say, you could be wrong about something. And I think that's what really bothers them.
Oh, yeah.
They
absolutely.
need to be right.
Yes.
And the fear of being wrong drives them to all this kind of draconian nonsense. I was like, I'm wrong all the time. Like, I'm wrong 9 times out of 7. And I haven't imploded yet. You know, like I look forward to being wrong because that's where you learn something.
Yes.
You know, but nobody likes it. But at the same time, you know, you don't look forward to it. It's sort of like you feel like your stomach, the floor has gone out of your stomach. But still, that is where you learn something.
Right.
And it's like, and the other thing I pointed out was like, who gets to decide what is acceptable things to say and acceptable evidence to look at? You realize it's going to be a person. So if you say people don't know how to make rational decisions, who are you giving the rational, like, who are you giving this position to? Who's going to be making these rational decisions for you? Well, once you take away the idea that people can make rational decisions for themselves, then everything just becomes competing tribalist ideologies, fighting for being able to completely control and monopolize the pulpit. That's ridiculous. It's not what it's not what world is supposed to be about. And then the other thing that I mentioned to him is that when somebody grants me freedom of speech, I'm more inclined to trust them. When people grant you freedoms, okay, when they say you can do these things, or they support and protect your freedoms, that's a trust exercise. And we need trust to run our society. So when you start, and you can see it in their rhetoric, this guy doesn't trust other people to make a rational decision. I don't know how he trusts the people that he does trust to make rational decisions about the rational decisions about other people, but I'm guessing
he won't now because
I'm guessing it's most likely ideology. Like, as long as the ideology is consistent with his,
the assumption is that people have the same best interests, even though in a lot of these circles there's a lot of people who believe that they're even better ideological servants than the people around them that share their ideology. So that's why they end up eating each other, because they may say, well, you can hang out with me because we believe the same things, but I believe that my belief in the same things as yours are better beliefs. I do it better and more, and so you better watch your step. So, and
I just want to point this out. This is, I would honestly classify this as unconscious feminine thinking. Not even like it's like submissive thinking, because he's saying, the world won't be good unless we're submitting to an authority, unless everybody's submitting to the authority.
Well, I guess
his authority, maybe.
Yeah.
But it's like the people that agree with this are afraid of freedom. They're afraid to be wrong. They're afraid to take the risks that could lead to being wrong, or to losing out, or to succeed in a meritocracy. They're afraid of all of that because they have low risk tolerance. And they have low risk tolerance because they don't see themselves in terms of the consequences of their actions. They see themselves only in the terms of negative consequences themselves. And I know that this is going a little into the weeds, but please bear with me. That is it's not just feminine orientated thinking. It's not a mature feminine. It is very, very immature feminine, childish feminine thinking, is to be afraid of risk to that degree, to be afraid of being wrong, to be afraid of people having opinions separate from yourself, to be afraid of all of that. Where do you think that's going to come from? But the people with the lowest risk tolerance.
Yep.
And the people who have the most supposed social agreeableness. And I don't mean the compassion score in the agreeable category. I mean the conformity to social norms score. High conformity to social norms, high desire to make other people conform to social norms, very, very minimal risk tolerance. This guy doesn't want to trust people making decisions because he doesn't want to trust people because that's a risk. And that is feminine. Get this, this is really critical to understand. That is unconscious feminine. It's an unrealized feminine attitude towards the world, is to be that afraid of risk. I see it all the time. I see it in advertising and how advertising manipulates women's fear in order to sell stuff. It's so common. And feminism manipulates women's fear in order to sell itself and all of its various schemes to get social influence and moolah. It's all about manipulating women's fear. Why? Because women on average are more fearful. They are afraid of things. and they can be manipulated through this fear. So you can say, well, if someone has free speech, that might lead to herp a derp, these awful things. Like it could lead to racism. And they don't see that the constriction of freedom is the greater ill than allowing some people to have thoughts you don't find aesthetically appealing. Because it's like the restriction, like Jordan Peterson was saying this. I was listening to something he was saying. If you don't allow people to hash things out in the marketplace of ideas, then inevitably you will end up with violence.
Yep.
If they cannot discuss it rationally, they will discuss it through violence. And that's one of the critical reasons why we have freedom of speech. And the other thing is that, and I was talking about this earlier, they talk about hate speech. Like one individual went nuts over this Veritas thing. And she was tweeting this thing about how, conservatives want to protect their precious hate speech. And I was thinking, okay, so what do you mean by hate speech? Do you mean that speech that can incite violence towards people? Is that what's critical about hate speech? Because it seems to be that that's what they're trying to say, is that hate speech is different than any other speech because it can create violence. Well, the most violent phrase that could possibly be uttered is women are harmed. This phrase has led to lynchings, it's led to beatings, it's led to murders, it's led to genocides, it's led to bombings, it's led to war. Women are harmed is the most dangerous phrase. And yet, do we talk about, maybe we should start putting restrictions on that speech? Maybe we should start really, really carefully looking at where this most dangerous of speech is applied and who's saying it and whether they got their ducks in the row in terms of their evidence. By the way, spoiler alert, almost no one ever does when they start talking about women are harmed. And so if they're going to start saying that hate speech is more important to silence, we got to get rid of freedom of speech in order to silence hate speech because the consequences of hate speech are so violent. Well, then we should also be censoring anyone every time anyone says, and women were harmed, and women are being harmed, or women are going to be harmed, because that speech leads to a hell of a lot of violence. You see what I'm getting at?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think there is such a thing as hate speech, but I take your point.
Well, I think that you're right. Well, first of all, if there is hate speech, there's hateful speech, obviously.
Yeah, there might be speech that's angry, but I won't use the classification of hate speech because that's how you get people trying to protect people from it. And of course, no one can define it objectively, so it may as well just be thrown out. It's not useful. It's only useful to power-hungry psychos like this guy. So
I told you that. I know.
I know.
Sorry, that came out really freaking.
But I understand what
I agree with what you're saying.
Yeah, I know. But I understand what your point is to say that if we were going to take that seriously, then the phrase "women are harmed" would be the most hateful thing because it actually results in more violence. But again, I don't think the people who claim that people need to be protected from hate speech believe in hate speech as an objective principle thing. I think that it is a tool that they use so that they can gaslight, censor, and otherwise hide people from the truth. And that's it. Its purpose is so that nobody digs any deeper because they don't want to be associated with the bad labels. And so that, that's the idea. It's all about gaslighting you, censoring people who dissent, and hiding the truth away from anyone who might be curious. And then that's basically all you got to do. And if you look at feminism, that's what it's been doing since the beginning. And you can just take the same tactics and look at it across any other thing where if you see that there are people who are deliberately hiding, keeping you from looking into things on your own they're telling you they don't trust you to find the truth, and that they are the ultimate authority on what the truth is, and that they will tell you what it is, and you will only have that option. There won't be an alternative. And I think that another thing they do is, because I agree, I think that a lot of this boils down to the fear of being wrong, the fear of humility, which I've mentioned this a number of times, because and so what do you do if you cannot accept the off chance that you have invested in a terrible idea that has been wrong for over 100 years, and it's always been wrong, and in many cases it's led to mass murders and all kinds of other terrible things. It was just bad, period, across the board. How do you cope with the chance that might be true? Well, you have to gaslight yourself. So what they do is they try to distort, like they basically try to sculpt reality around their entire worldview so that it looks right, which is where all the sophistry comes in. I think a lot of times they actually try to like gaslight themselves into thinking, oh, like this guy, he basically is saying, look, people are all, except for me, everyone else is inferior, and they're not smart enough to know, why this matters. I'm saving so many lives right now just by censoring people on Twitter. They have no idea. It's like that meme where the guy is standing in the corner at the party and he's like, and they'll never know that I saved their lives, from the I don't know, from the Trumpsters or whatever it is that this guy believes, right? Censorship is good. I had to do it for them, and so like, it's like, they have to do that, and it helps them feel better about these awful, immoral things that they're doing. And I think it helps them cope, because if they have to face the fact that they might be wrong, and it might not even be like something really severe, but it causes so much anguish, like it's really not. I used to be that way. I'm more willing now to say something that might make me look stupid than I have before. No, because I think it
Join
is.
us.
I think that it's worthwhile though. It's like, don't be afraid to say something that you're not entirely sure is 100% true, because otherwise no one would ever say anything. So like, put it out there and say, look, I could be wrong, but here are my thoughts. And then we work it out. That's how it's supposed to be. Like this goes to Jordan Peterson when he said that, we talk to each other to help us think. And the reason why I think a lot of people miss this, because the people like this guy think that you should only talk if you know what you're going to say cannot be refuted and will make you look like you're smarter than everyone else. That's not the purpose of conversation.
It's not the purpose of communication.
No, the purpose is to exchange ideas. Like a man who lives alone in the middle of the mountains and doesn't have contact with anyone else might have been a genius, but because he never spoke to anyone else and he never had anyone to bounce any of his ideas off of, he can't know. It's impossible for him to know if everything that he believes he knows is true, because he doesn't have anyone else to talk to. And we need that. That's what makes us unique from most other animals, if not all other animals.
The ability to communicate in extremely high concept ideas. And again, I want to point this out. This is an aspect of what happens when a society takes out the masculine from its toolkit. Like men are good with trusting each other in this way. This is what I've noticed about men. They're much more likely to trust each other's speech and to engage in these kind of trust exercises where they have what you might consider to be offensive speech, and they put it out there. And what they're doing is they're judging whether or not the person is going to trust them or to give them the freedom to say this, or if they want to restrict them. And if the person trusts them, and just belt something back that's also offensive, instead of trying to restrict the speech, then they know that they're in an environment where they can trust each other to that level. They can trust each other to not try to silence each other. But when you allow a person to speak and you allow a person to come to their own conclusions, that's an act of trust. That's trusting them. And that the people, the men, in my opinion, are much more likely to engage in that because they have a higher risk tolerance. Trust is proportionate to your risk tolerance. If you can tolerate the possibility of being wrong, you can tolerate the possibility of being offended, you can tolerate all of this, you have a higher risk tolerance because this is risk, potentially risking something. And when you have that higher risk tolerance, you can have that higher trust for what people are going to say. And this is something that I think that is much more masculine than it is feminine. The ability to create a society or a institution or an environment of higher risk tolerance, thus higher trust, is a more of a masculine trait, in my opinion. And what we're seeing is this kind of tyranny of people who cannot trust other people because they can't take the risk of being offended. They can't take the risk of being disrespected. They can't take the risk of accepting other people's opinions as maybe being more valid than their own, or the risk of being wrong. So they have to control all of that because the risk is too much to bear. The fear is too much to bear. And because the fear and the risk is too much to bear, the trust isn't there. And when the trust isn't there, communication becomes more and more constrained, more and more fraught and nerve-wracking, which is the irony of leading with this lack of trust, is that when you start to allow your paranoia and fear to take over, there's just more paranoia and fear down that road. And we need our masculinity. Psychological toolkit.
Yeah. That goes back to like what we were saying. I mean, essentially, these people like this guy, if you force them to like give a good reason as to why they're doing what they're doing, it would always probably boil down to because I said so, which is something that your mom might have said to you once or a few times when you were a kid. It's just like, I know what's best, and that's it, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, and this is for your protection. It's like, you know, the Kathy Bates from Misery. You know, I'm doing this for your protection.
Okay, guys, just a reminder to get those Superchows in at feedthebadger.com/justthetip. You guys are quiet today.
Yeah, there's a good number of people watching, but I'm not seeing any super chats or super chows right now. All right, let's play some more of the video. Maybe they just agree with everything we're saying. Yeah, right.
As an advertiser, as my business is what I do every day and why I go out is like, we want it to be as fair and transparent and accurate as possible. Yeah. And if that means there's a level of censorship to make it correct, quote unquote, again, and what does correct mean? I guess like it just kind of goes back to the idea of like, well, what is correct?
Well, yeah, it's a good question.
Doesn't it go back to the idea of what is correct?
Well, it's a good thing that I happen to know what is correct, is basically what he's saying. Well, I know the answer to that question, but look at all these dummies on Twitter. They couldn't possibly know. Like I know I overstate this, but it can't be overstated that anyone who is afraid of being wrong also believes that they are smarter than everyone else, and that they have the unique outlook. You know, they are privy to information that no one else has. That they're just more knowledgeable. They're more better able to make judgments. They are more moral. And so therefore they are the people who should be in charge. I mean, that's what I see over and over and over.
Yeah.
It's Gnostic.
Yes. It's an interesting way to put it. Okay.
Yeah, it's Gnosticism. It's this idea that you have exclusive knowledge that others don't. Okay.
If we're implementing all these rules and Elon wants to dismantle them, then technically our ideology has led us to not making money because we're not making money. And Elon wants to turn it the other way so that we can make money. There's a statement they need all 7,000 people to say. And so they can't tell us the real truth.
He is hospital.
God,
I think
someone's drunk.
I'm saying that, yeah, because somebody asked me in the chat, like, I saw in the chat, I think a Jim Bottle, he says, doesn't he look at the camera at one point? He probably does, but he's probably so plastered that he doesn't know what he's looking at exactly. Or he just kind of forgot about it. So I wouldn't like, because, you know, it looks like he might also know, or, you know, or something. But yeah, I mean, they're drunk. And this guy's getting really like, you know, friendly. Have you noticed? Like, he's a lot closer to the guy now. I wonder if you were, so, you know, based gay man who did the spying, because he had to be gay, right? I mean,
well, he might be straight, but
yeah, well, but then like I think you have to kind of make good on the date at some point, otherwise you're gonna. I don't see how you would like get in good with the guy, buy him a bunch of drinks, chat with him, and it looks like they stay, you know, pretty late, like, you know, in this place. And then later you're like, the guy's like trying to make out with you or grope you, and you're like, nah, you know what? I think I'm just gonna turn in. Like, that would just be so shitty. That would be so shitty. But
you heard it here, folks. If you're
you know,
honey pot, you need to put out.
Well, I think that you should at least suggest that you're going to put out on date number 2, right? You give them something. You kiss them. You know, maybe you make out a little bit. I don't know. And I'm just saying, like, that's why I think, well, this guy probably is gay, only because I think that would be most comfortable, although he might not be attracted to this man at all. So that's still tough, right? It's still tough. So I'm not making assumptions about gay folks.
But, I mean, there's not,
saying,
to be honest, if anything, his particular attitude must be on off-turning, like off-putting.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. It's a turn-off. Probably.
Yeah, and when I talked about initially, like, I want to understand how his wheels work. You know, I have a relative who's sort of similar to him. I won't get any more specific
to
than
this
that.
guy that's on the screen.
Yes, and when I talked to, I got into an argument with him, and he said, "Well, you know, if you're offending someone, you should be willing to silence yourself." I said, "You're offending me." And he's like, "How does that work?" And I want to understand how it is that you can abandon free speech so easily for this kind of censorious attitude and think you're right.
Yep.
And it's like, it seems to be like it's a lack of wanting to see how, it's a lack of being willing to see your actions in the greater world somehow, or being willing to have that curtailed for some other thing that you find positive. Like, it's that mentality of being willing to be silenced. Or, well, then why are you willing to be silenced? Why are you willing to be subject to censorship? What makes you willing to do that? Or what makes you willing to do that to another human being and justify it and be so cavalier about it and glib? I know he's also
glib, as Tom Cruise would say. You're being glib. You're being glib.
How do you get to the point of believing that free speech is bad? That's my question.
Maybe that's not really what is important. I think that, like, the power to control the conversation is tremendously addicting. And I think that people just they get addicted to the power. And it's more addictive than crack, and they just do it. They just flex, you know, as often as possible, because I can only like, can you imagine being a Facebook fact checker who basically like jumps on any post, even memes? There was like a guy who he used to work at Facebook, and he was talking about how much fun, how much glee the fact checkers have when they remove posts or they add their little blurbs that say, you know, this may not have all the context, and it'll be about all of the popular subjects of the day, which I will not say because we are on YouTube and we should be careful. But all of the things that you assume, yes, it's those things. that they would fact check and put posts on. And I even heard that, you know, when they find memes on Facebook, they will laugh at the memes because the memes are funny and they're only funny because they're true, and still delete them. So they will laugh at the memes and then remove them because they're enjoying having that power so much. So I do think that there is something to be said for, there is like no care about what the truth is, because if you can control the narrative, then they believe you can control what the truth is. And we've seen that also manifest in a number of ways, even through the government, right? And so, and I think that there's a lot of power in that. Now, it's not really built to last, because if something is true, and you're trying to go 100% against it, it's just gonna blow up in your face, because you can't undo the truth. But they will try, and it is really addicting. And if they believe if they can get enough people to believe the lie, then the lie becomes true. But I'm sorry, we're not orcs, so.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at, for example, Tamara Lich has been trending again because she's going back in front of a Crown prosecutor, says that she violated the conditions of her bail because, and to be quite frank, the conditions were profoundly unjust.
Who was that again?
She's one of the organizers of the convoy in Canada.
Oh, yeah, right.
And
yes,
she got jailed for mischief, which essentially means impeding a person's ability to enjoy their property for a sit-in, you know, and I'm on Twitter, and there's so many people crowing about, oh, well, you know, she violated her patently unjust bail expectations, so she should go back to jail. And I don't understand. Who are you people that are promoting this over exercise of authoritarianism? It's like, and then enjoying being serious and taking away other people's freedoms, and then looking at yourselves and saying, I'm a good person. Are you? Anyway, well, and look at this guy. Like, he doesn't trust people to make decisions. That justifies censorship. It's because he doesn't trust people. You guys, people who are pro this authoritarianism don't trust people. You don't trust people with freedom. You don't trust other people with freedom. Well, I'm afraid to tell you, but your comfortable living is because you exist on the other, you know, you exist on the labor of generations upon generations of people who did trust each other to build things. And now you are like no longer engaging in the trust in order to run a high trust society. And what do you think is going to happen? The more you censor, the more you promote unjust laws, you know, the more you refuse to allow express themselves, the more you take away people's bodily autonomy, you are going to promote a society with no trust, and a society with no trust is a poor society.
Yep.
It is an impoverished society. It's a society where you can't afford to heat your house, where you're eating your cats. This is the society you want to generate, you want to create. Embrace a lack of trust of your fellow man. Anyway, so somebody sent us a message. Actually, the Great Indoors sent us $5.
I was gonna, yeah, I saw that. I was gonna read it, but you could read it if you want.
Oh, go ahead. No, I don't
all right. So we got a super chow from the Great Indoors. He gives us $5, and he says, "I want to point out that the kind of people who are the most vocal about the importance of democracy are usually also the ones who have a disdain and distrust for the majority of the public." Well, yeah, but they mostly like
democracy,
right? But they like democracy because democracy is mob rule. So they believe that if they can control what's true, then they will have the power of democracy. That's why they always say democracy, but they don't say republic, constitutional republic. You know, because the purpose of, I mean, it's already been discussed. Like, the founding fathers were like, this is not a democracy, because democracies are mob rule. We don't want that. It's basically, you know, two wolves and a chicken voting to see what's for dinner. That's not what this is. But yeah, they'll give it lip service because democracy is a nice sounding word, right? But yeah, ultimately they also believe that that's why they always appeal to popular beliefs, right? So if you get into an argument with feminists about any subject that you're trying to have an honest conversation about, or bring men in the conversation into, or whatever, one of the ways they'll try to convince you that you're wrong is by simply saying most women agree with me. And that makes it a democratic issue in their minds, even though it doesn't matter how many people agree with you. The only thing that matters is what's true. And so, that it, because like you could say, I mean, like, the earth was flat was popular as a notion, that was consensus, but it wasn't true. So, I mean, maybe there are flat earthers in our audience. I don't want to like throw you guys under the bus if you're, anti-globalist. I agree with that, but not in the same way, maybe. But you know what I'm saying? Like we don't arrive at those things like through truth. But thank you, Great Indoors.
Whoops, I was muted. I said
Yeah, you were muted.
Disagree with the globalists for their views, except we should disagree for their name. They
Yeah.
should call themselves. They should call themselves surfalists.
Yeah.
Flatalists.
Discalists.
Discalists.
All right, let's keep going.
The real truth.
He has Asperger's.
Yeah, I know that.
So he's special. You're special needs. You're literally special needs. So
Oh, what a dick.
I can't even take what you're saying seriously.
Yeah, I mean, this doesn't surprise me either. Again, this was never about tolerance. I understand that there is a desire to point out the hypocrisy, but yeah, I mean, when it comes to their enemies, they don't have any, they don't belong to any protective class. So just like Allison's no longer a woman, I'm no longer a minority. Elon Musk is no longer, what would they say, neurotypical? I don't know.
Yes, neurotypical.
Yeah. So obviously.
Oh yeah, I forgot to say, if you want to join the Great Indoors and our supporters, please go to feedthebadger.com/justthetip. All right. Oh, and if anybody put something through the actual thingamabob,
Thingamabob?
the fundraiser, the fundraiser,
Oh,
which
the
is at
fundraiser.
feedthebadger.com slash project / media - blitz. You can also follow the pop-ups. I will announce and thank you for that during the show.
Oh,
So
Yeah,
consider
yeah.
doing that. Yeah.
consider doing that. And we'll play a little audio bite.
Yes,
I'll find
indeed.
something. Okay, so let's keep going. So he's talking about Elon Musk. Is Elon actually, like, does he actually have Asperger's? Because I know that, he's a really smart guy and he's really rich. And he comes across as a bit like quirky, but I don't know if he actually had, like a little eccentric. But then so what? Like, so did Bill Gates. Do you remember how awkward he used to be? I mean, now he's terrifying, but I remember that, right? He wasn't the salesman that like Steve Jobs was. So you got the sense that, what were you going to say?
Steve Jobs isn't terrifying in some ways because the thing is that I think Bill Gates is always sort of underhanded.
Been a bit creepy.
Like
the leprechaun from the movie Leprechaun.
Not watch that, but I'll take your word for it. All right, let's finish this.
Let's finish this clip.
Targeting of Tweeps.
Wait.
You can read it.
Oh,
Let me see.
You call yourselves
How to protect
tweets?
yourself.
All right, so this was corporate security email that he shared. I kind of want to read it because I never read it. In the last couple of weeks, and as recently as yesterday, we have been seen increased targeting of Tweeps to obtain company information and insights, and we wanted to inform you of what we were seeing and how to protect yourself. Groups
it's hard to read because it's so small.
Yeah, it is kind of small. Groups like Project Veritas are active right now. These groups, I'm sorry, it's Veritas. I forgot. I'm mispronouncing. It's Veritas. These groups use social engineering tactics to get close to employees and obtain videos and recordings of employees discussing internal company matters, and often selectively edit house recordings to misrepresent conversations to further their own political or ideological agendas. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, those recordings.
Oh, and how do they edit them? Like, seriously, this guy is saying full thoughts and sentences.
Yeah, I mean they're basically just jumping to what I guess are the most damning parts, but
unless he's like saying things like, and this is what the left wants us to do, but we are not doing it. I'm going to give you an example of not doing it because we don't listen to the left. And okay, well, I assume that the what is it? Veritas? Veritas. No.
Veritas.
Veritas. Okay.
Yes, it's Veritas. It's like a Mexican restaurant, I think.
Okay, Veritas. All right. So Veritas is I think they're going to release the whole thing or something, so we can find out for ourselves. And probably what it is deleted all the filler and just went down to what is actually being said. Yeah. But yeah. So I just find it hilarious that he has this up that says, be careful because people are going to use social engineering to get your information. And he's showing it to the guy.
Yes, he is. He's showing him this is the best part.
Oh my God.
I think I had to guess then that because this man that's being honeypotted, is it still called a honeypot when it's a dude? Or is there another word for that?
Honey stem?
Like corn dog? Like what's the Well, anyway, the guy who's being, who's in this video that's talking about how Elon Musk is special. I'm guessing that he probably doesn't have he's not involved in a steady relationship with a man, but he wants to be, but he's, overweight and really maybe a bit too effeminate for some gay men because some gay men don't like men that are like that, well, lots of gay men don't, because I used to live in Boys Town. I think in general, the average gay man isn't exactly a queen. Except for our friend at Mel Magazine.
Oh,
Miles Klee. Yes, Miles Klee.
Yeah, Miles Klee, the gay man who absolutely insists he does not like muscular, virile young men.
Yeah. So this guy, this guy who is getting this information must be like a gay Giga Chad of some kind. He must be, because he makes this guy feel so special. He's like, oh my God, I can't believe somebody like this is attracted to me. And of course he buys it. And he says, well, let's get drunk, and see what happens. So this guy must be some kind of Chad gay man. And man based Chad gay. That's what I'm saying.
I think I agree. I think we should finish this off because I have a thought about this man and what he's saying about who should be deciding who gets,
sure.
Yeah.
Okay, let's keep going.
Groups like Project Veritas are active right now. What is that?
It's like some group that's trying to just out the employees. They're trying to go on dates with them like this and record.
Like this? But not this, though, because this is real. I can feel it. I can feel your energy.
Them, and then go sell it to the New York Times and say this is what the Twitter employee just said. This is
what, the New York Times would literally print this article.
That's ridiculous. The New York Times is not going to.
No.
That's really happening. This is what they're
exactly
telling us to not do. You're lucky that you met me organically, because I would be questioning everything about you.
Okay, and this is the man that's going to decide what is fake information for all of us. This dude is the one. This is going to be our gatekeeper of the information we need to make critical choices in our life. What did he say? What did he call it? To make rational decisions. He's the one. He's the one who's going to save us from the irrational, from being taken in, from being conned. Do you get what I'm saying? It's oh my God, you've just basically shown us why nobody should trust you to know what is a fake.
Yep.
You have it right there, man. They're going to try to go on a date with you to get information. And what's this guy doing? Oh man.
I wonder how they did this, because he's like, he really feels like, and yeah, I know that guy's, his name is Alex Martinez, no relation. This guy really feels like he met.
This one.
Yeah, I don't claim this one. My brother's name is Alex Martinez. That's got to be awkward. But this guy, he met the gay Giga Chad somewhere and presumes that their knowledge of each other is completely organic. So man, Project Veritas is on a whole other level in terms of like, you know, how they're like getting into these you know, great conversations and finding these recordings. It's wild. He's so sure that this guy could not possibly be, you know, working for the Mexican restaurant. So
Veritas.
Yeah, Veritas. I would like some Veritas with a little bit of salsa on the side. Yeah.
Oh
Anyway.
man, I just find that hilarious. And he thinks he's going to be the gatekeeper to protect us all.
Yeah.
All from the people who want to lie to us and be fake and fill our head with fakeness. Okay. All right.
It also
maybe
it says something about how like kind of comfortable they feel about what they're doing.
Yeah.
Because they're, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, they think I'm guessing that they think they're right. I mean,
oh yeah.
To be honest, for me, he looks a little more crazy tonight, but and then also
Well,
like and that's
they've been
mostly because of
drinking.
what he's saying. Sorry, I
Yeah.
don't mean to be ableist.
No, he's making googly eyes at him. I think that's what's going on here. Again,
Oh,
you know,
God,
it's like, oh, he
If
totally
you could only
is.
see what's going on in his head here.
He totally is. That's what that. I mean, I can only imagine, you know, that because that's what it looks like. Like he's making googly eyes. at
I
this
swear to
guy.
God, the submissives are going to destroy our
That guy deserves
civilization.
a fucking medal. But-
Yeah, he's making googly eyes. He's also giving like the physical submission to this dude.
Yeah, it's like a dog. You know, have you ever met a dog that like they crawl around on their belly and they, you know, when they're in front of another dog or a person?
Yes, I think gay Giga Chad could have done even pursuing this relationship and then telling him how to act in public. No, you will give people free speech. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Oh God, the submissives are going to destroy our world. Right.
Did you want to say something else about this video, or should we move on to the
No,
other
I
one?
would like to get to the next one. I think the next one's going to go a lot faster because
So
least he
I brought it up.
he seems like he's just this guy seems like he's just going with the flow, you know?
Yeah,
He's just like, this is something that's happening, and I don't care. I'm just getting paid and doing my 4 hours a week.
Yep.
So it's not as much. It's not as much meat, I think.
Ciro Murugisan, I hope I'm not butchering that. I apologize if I am. Senior engineer at Twitter. Okay. So this is the other clip, and this guy I believe is straight because it sounds like there's a woman talking to him. So, yeah, there you go.
Twitter does not believe in free speech.
So he says Twitter does not believe in free speech. Again, news
What do
that
you want
shouldn't
to bet
shock
this guy's
anyone.
probably one of the few that's actually keeping Twitter running.
You know what? I wouldn't be surprised if he was one of the guys that does some work. Yes, I wouldn't be surprised. He probably gets left in the basement though, like Milton from Office Space. You know, like they put the guys that are actually doing shit don't get to participate in any of the
In the office shenanigans.
Yeah, in the office shenanigans or activities. They don't go to the parties. You know, they just do their work and they don't care about anything going on that's moral or not moral. They just want to collect their paycheck and go home.
So this guy I have more sympathy for a little.
Oh, okay.
He's just did it for his own benefit. That seems more sympathetic to me.
Yeah, a bit. Still shitty though, but
Yeah. What do you
Not
mean?
doing this free speech. Capitalism. We weren't really operating in a capitalist mode. We were very socialist. Like we're all like communists.
I don't know why this thing is like freezing a little bit, but My internet seems fine. So yeah, he basically says that we don't operate this like a capitalist company. We're all very socialist and commie as fuck is what it says. So in case you guys can't hear that.
Ideologically, it does not make sense. Like, because we're
I guess in this context, commie as the beep
Commie as
means
bleep.
that commie as bleep means that you aren't operating for the benefit of either your shareholders or your customers.
Yeah.
You're just operating for your own ideological benefit.
Yep. That's right.
Okay.
It's all about spreading the ideology. And
Because I can tell
like,
you, it's not very communist if you're taking home a paycheck for doing what you're doing.
well, you know, they would say that we have to operate within the system that we hate in order to change the system to the one that we want. So, but yeah.
You know what? I think this is over a period of days that they gathered all.
Oh,
they
yeah,
were
I mean, like
dating these guys
dates?
for multiple days. Yeah, like go to the beginning. I think that.
Yep, it's a different conversation. It's a different conversation.
So these people were, oh my God, they're really invested in their art. Oh, that's sort of scary. Like, could you imagine if there was like Project Veritas within our organization? I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, who would it be? Maybe it's me.
What do you mean? Oh, that's that.
secretly.
Well, look, James O'Keefe doesn't play. That guy, you know, he's putting in work. I can't hate him for that.
Yeah. Yeah, true enough.
ideologically,
Oh, I'm sorry. Were you gonna say something?
No, I was just going to look
okay.
at this guy.
Okay. So let look.
it does not make sense. Like, because we're actually censoring the right, not the left. Because everyone on the right wing will be like, bro, it's okay to say, just gotta tolerate it. The left will be like, no, I'm not gonna tolerate it. I need it censored, or else I'm not gonna be in touch. So it does stuff right.
I'm going to put something out there.
Okay.
Honestly, I think that what used to be the right might be just as glorious when all of the
Alice,
numbskulls
you're breaking up.
Oh.
What was that?
Okay, sorry. I think that if you look back in the past, what we might term the right was censorious when they had more of society. However, what they're calling the right now is basically everybody who doesn't believe in the purity spiral that the left is engaged in. You know, because basically
it's not the right. It's just everybody else that isn't us.
It's just everybody else. Everybody who's like, no, actually,
anyone who's like, anyone who just believes that as just sort of like a principle that speech should be free is their enemy. Like, you know, it's not about really about that group belonging to a political philosophy. It's just like people who believe in free speech that's just like a common sense thing. So, you know.
Yeah. And like I said this a while back, I said, nobody's a victim of being and that makes me right, apparently. You know, even though in the past, you know, I'm old enough to have watched the Helen Lovejoys of the world essentially trying to remove free speech because of Satanism, satanic panic. And, you know, like heavy metals, boys invert and rape everything they see or something. You know, like stuff like that. I've seen that. And I'm not going to forget it. And in my opinion, the way that you both extremism is by retaining free speech.
Yep.
It's as simple as that. That's how you prevent extremism is free speech.
Right.
And
it's true.
Those people who are like, I'm against free speech, well, what you're saying is that you don't trust your fellow human to do what's right. And you know, not every human being is going to do it. But in general, people want to do what's right.
Yeah, well, we have to accept and allow some risk. That's what we do.
Yeah, and definitely the people who are going to want to do what's right are more likely to be numbered the people who trust each other to do what's right than the people who don't. Think about it. Like, a thief thinks everyone is a thief. A a murderer thinks everyone is a murderer. And a censorious authoritarian thinks everyone's. People who actually think that freedom of speech is important are the most likely to embrace liberty and the trust required to give each other liberty. I was really thinking about this. It's like, what is the freedom to, for example, bear arms mean? Like the people who promote the freedom to bear arms, it's not just because they want to be able to deal with criminals. It's also because they trust fellow law-abiding citizens to have a gun. If you think about it. They trust the people around them to be able to bear guns reasonably and safely. And it's funny because you see all those memes, or no, the times when the left is like showing, I don't know, Black Panther rallies or black militia with black guys with, and they're showing it to the pro gun rights people on the who they think are on the white supremacists, and they're saying, look, isn't this your worst nightmare? And then the guys are responding with, no, good for them. They're taking responsibility for protecting their community, whatever else. And it's like they don't understand the idea of trusting your fellow man with these rights. So they're like, well, this is not part of your tribe. You should be terrified of them having the right to. And we're giving the reins of a high trust society to the least trusting human beings that are in our society. And we think that this is not gonna come back and bite us in the ass. Not this guy. This dude is just, I swear, he's just here for the ride. And I mean, his plain self-interest, the reason why I think that he's more sympathetic is it's just 100% self-interest for him, it seems. As opposed to ideological control. Okay, anyway.
All right.
I don't know if the two parties can truly coexist on one platform.
What do your colleagues say about it?
They hate it.
I like how she's like, what do your colleagues say about it? She's like playing with her hair, probably. Like they've been on a couple of dates, right? He's like, oh man, I can't believe what I got here. That's so funny. They hate it. Okay.
Oh my god, I'm at least like okay with it, but some of my colleagues are like super left.
What are they saying?
They're like, this will be my last day if it happens. So,
has much changed since like Elon's coming out?
a lot has changed. A lot has changed. We're all like worried for our jobs.
Why are you guys so worried?
Our jobs are at stake.
Oh Jesus! Okay, how hot is this woman? Because at
She's
this
gotta
point,
be like super hot, right?
Because how is he not picking up that this sounds like an interview, or like she's asking probing questions, right?
But we're looking at over the course of multiple dates.
And the thirst is real.
Well, yeah, absolutely. But also, they're probably talking about a bunch of other things, and then occasionally she pivots to Twitter or Elon Musk or whatever, right? But she won't stay on the subject for too long because then it will look suspicious. So then they probably talk about other stuff like music or whatever, right?
Crap, she must be good at her job.
She must be, yeah.
Dedicated.
She must really come close to actually putting out. like really come close without actually doing it. She probably is like, well, I just came here from Utah, and my family is very religious and Mormon, so I'm saving myself, so I'm a virgin. But I mean, you seem really nice, and we'll see where it goes. And he's like, oh shit, I'm gonna open those bobs. But yeah, I mean, I can't think of anything else other than it's like a backstory that's so like appealing that he can't resist. Okay.
I think it's just like the environment, like you're there and you become like calm. We did all we could to like revolt against it.
All right, so I think that's a good point. He said that it's like you work at Twitter and I'm sure this is true of a lot of places, and you just kind of like adopt their worldview. So it is sort of like, you know, you just become like them because you're part of a broader corporate culture for this specific company. And I think that there is some truth to that, because I remember what happened to Blizzard, which was the development. They were video game developers, right? They made Diablo and Warcraft and StarCraft. It's what they're both best known for. Overwatch. And when they started out, it was just like a few dudes that just loved to make video games, and they would just do that together. And that's why they made really great games, because they were mostly just concerned about the craft. There was only a few people. I think they were pretty good friends. And then over time, as the company grew and they got more and more people, the culture of the company changed. And around the time that I believe Overwatch came out, but it might have been before that, they became far more like woke feminist, you know, and they had a bunch of female employees that were joining, and, you know, because they were concerned with, you know, their growth inevitably led them to be like, well, I guess we need a human resources department. And that was the end of Blizzard. So, you know, but it changed the culture. And then they got accused of all of this like sexual harassment, and I guess a couple of the guys that like started the company left the company. They stepped down. So
Shame. Okay, let's keep
going.
A lot of employees voted against it, but at the end of the day, board of directors have to say, and then they acted on their best interest because they didn't want to get sued. Basically, when
this is something that I brought up when we first talked.
Yeah.
If the board of directors isn't seen to act in the interests of the shareholders, they can be sued for that. Yes. So Elon Musk definitely put them in a on this issue, which was really interesting to watch. They probably tried the poison pill thing, then they have to deal with the fact that if they're not making decisions based on investors' interest, they can be sued. So eventually that won out, and Elon is moving forward, as far as I can tell. It's the latest that I've known. So he's right about this. Look at the fear in his eyes.
He is worried about his job.
Yeah. I can't help but feel for that. The other guy doesn't seem to be afraid of a damn thing except somebody disagreeing with him. This guy's like, I got a good deal here. I'm probably able to send tons home to my family in India, unless he's naturalized, in which case I'm sorry for being, you know. But it's like I get what you're saying. You know, he deserves, like, if he isn't actually helping Twitter's bottom line and doing something shareholders and the customers, you know, yeah, he should be afraid for his job. Maybe he should have considered this is too good to be true.
Yeah, or, you know, maybe he should have listened to his conscience if he knew that there was something wrong. I mean, that, you know, because instead of like being honeypotted by this woman, he could have been interviewed by James O'Keefe personally and said, okay, here's all the shit I saw. So, I mean, look, it's a shame. I'm not necessarily for people becoming unemployed. Yeah, what?
No. Sorry, I said that a little too aggressively.
No, it's okay. I'm just saying. Well, anyway, I'll get to it a little bit later. I'll mention something else, but let's play the rest of this. Oh, I got a super chat I should read.
Yeah,
Derek,
and also I got a super chat as well.
Okay. Yeah. Derek Workman gave us $5 super chat and says, I am adding on Twitter to all the moral points being made. I am not sure he is entirely wrong because of that added part. Okay. Thank you, Derek Workman. And I see Shadow Wolf in the chat on. I'm not really sure, but because this was from might have been from
what Derek is saying.
Yeah, this might have been from the previous video that we were going through. So they're making moral points. That might have been that. But anyway, I appreciate it. But go ahead.
Meredith G sends us $5 and says, without trust, we can't have cooperation. That cooperation is responsible for all our basic necessities. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, of course.
And because men have a higher risk tolerance, they trust. Well, I mean, there's two sides to that. Men are capable of trusting each other quite a bit. And I dare you to look at guys doing like offshore fishing or building a skyscraper before they had cranes, or like those, like the guys, or engaging in, small squad tactics in war, and not see the level of trust, the unbelievably incredible level of trust that men have. And there's other statistical evidence of men who are working in the same academic field are more likely to share their material with each other than women are with each other, because there's more trust there.
Yeah.
There's more of a sense of cooperation. Now, the other side to that is because men have a higher risk tolerance, they're also willing to sacrifice more for their group that they have this high trust, this sense of cooperation with. And that leads to potential, like, great degrees of violence in terms of. So there's a sort of a two sides to it. But yeah, like, that is a very masculine quality. The ability to trust, to want to seek out situations of trust, to extend trust, to use trust to develop cooperative systems. That's very masculine, and the more we marginalize the masculine from our society, the more we see crappy decision making, like the previous guy who just wants to embrace censorship because he doesn't trust other people's ability to make decisions for themselves. And it's as simple as that. I mean, I go on Twitter and I talk to these people about why they want to take away freedom of speech, why they want to take away freedom of bodily autonomy, and all of that stuff. And it all comes down to the fact that they don't trust other people. They don't trust them, and they regard them with suspicion. And they don't see, like, when they look at another human being, they're more likely to see the potential for infection, the potential for offense, the potential for violence, the potential for being disgusted with another person than they are the potential for trust, the potential for cooperation, the potential for learning something new, the potential for any positive interaction, and it's like they're ruled by that fear of what other people are going to do, because they're afraid of other people. And that level of a lack of risk tolerance and that kind of xenophobia. And it's not even xenophobia. It's even more fine grained than that, because it's not, they're just another human being. Mm-hmm. I mean, that level of fear is very feminine. That level of being driven by fear is very unconscious feminine, if that makes sense. And when we marginalize the masculine, we get more and more of that kind of decision making. And I know that sounds strange, because men are associated with being disagreeable, being closed, and being more xenophobic. And yet, in my experience, women are more afraid of other people. So,
oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, if you measured xenophobia in terms of fear of the opposite sex, where would men lie and where would women lie? Think about that.
Yeah.
All right. So if you want to send super chats, once again, it's feedthebadger.com/justthetip. All right.
But let's keep going then. There's only a little bit left in this, I think. Well, like a minute.
Because they didn't want to get sued. Basically, women work like 4 hours a week last quarter.
That's where you got your 4 hours a week.
For a company.
Yeah. How would you describe communism besides Twitter?
Essentially, like, everyone gets to do whatever they want. No one really cares about, like, OPEX, like capitalism.
Oh, so they don't care about operating expenses. They care about numbers or how to make the business more efficient. Oh,
but they do care about censorship.
Yes, they want to control the power to control the discussion is far more fulfilling than any profits. It's weird too, because like some of the best Twitter accounts are probably the most like capitalist ones. Like I don't like to use the word capitalism, but like Wendy's, the Wendy's has a hilarious Twitter account. And Arby's, and I know no one here eats at Arby's. Like, I don't eat at Arby's, but their advertising campaigns were really great because they would make these like geek culture references. And I mean, it was just, you know, it was the best way to use social media to market. But yeah, those were the best Twitter accounts, just off, you know, top of my head. So
yeah,
ironic.
Yep.
I mean, I like Wendy's. I haven't eaten there in a while, but I do Wendy's. So
all right, so that is
well, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just
gonna say.
Yeah, go ahead.
We're just gonna be going. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. We're not done yet. There's a little bit left.
No, there's a little bit left.
Okay, let's do it.
All right.
I care about like how to make the business more efficient. But in Twitter, it's like mental health is everything. Like if you're not feeling it, you can take a few days off. People have taken months off, they'll come back. But you always like do your best at any time, and that's the culture. And you know, we'll run the business as much as possible.
Seems like Twitter is like kind of runs itself, but I think that's the reason why. Again, like I said before, other than all the censorship and everything, in terms of just its functions, Twitter hasn't really changed, has it?
Yeah, although it seems like every time YouTube makes a change, it's for the worst.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that change is just good, but Twitter hasn't improved. I think that they early on they increased the number of characters once. I think they doubled them, and then I think that's it. Like they haven't. I believe that Twitter used to be like drowning in porn, and now there's a lot less. But I don't know if that's because Twitter was removing it, because I know that you can still find it there. So it seems like maybe even all of the porn accounts have left Twitter, and because it is a lot of bots now though. That's I was gonna mention that, but I'll at the end here. So 10 seconds left.
Won't feel as bad about our Twitter account follower numbers.
Capitalists would be like, you gotta generate profits or you're out. A lot of people wouldn't survive that.
So he's basically saying you have to make profits or you're out, and most of the people who work at Twitter, he doesn't think they would survive in that culture. That's his claim. So.
Okay. All right. Boo-hoo.
Yeah. Right.
Like, I don't know what to say, but if you're doing your job, you shouldn't be afraid of these. Like, if you're taking advantage of doing it 4 hours a week, like, so essentially, Twitter employees don't work, and they just censor. And the motivation is to be able to censor people.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So it's not about money. It's just about censorship. You know, maybe we should create like a new currency, that like censorship tokens currency. Maybe that we could get them to be capitalists again. You know, just you can earn censorship tokens, which people.
Yeah.
It could be sensorium.
It could be like another kind of cryptocurrency, because you know those are doing well right now. Oh, sorry for anyone who was invested.
Oh goodness. I know, like nothing is doing well really. The stock market isn't doing well. Oh, I'm going to say something that will probably get us kicked off. The ruble is about the only thing that's doing
the ruble?
well. Yes. What the hell is going on there?
It's like Legend of Zelda. That's okay. I can accept it.
Okay, you can. All right, but so all they want to do is nothing and censor. Like they don't want to do their job.
Yeah. And
are you?
I was gonna mention. Go ahead.
Engage in petty tyranny.
Yeah.
Like the pettiest of petty tyranny.
Yep.
Because they're afraid. They don't believe that if you give people the information, as much information as possible, they don't believe that people can come to their own that are appropriate or that are reasonable You know, like if you give people information, and also this whole free speech really vets the people that you don't necessarily want to trust, because they won't trust anyone else. Well, probably because they to use whatever power they get to censor other people. Sort of like a litmus test. Will you let me speak? Will you let me go through my own process, look at my own information, come to my own conclusions, or will you shame me? Will you try to socially ostracize me, fired, banned, or otherwise try to silence me? If you're going to do that, if you're not going to trust me, why should I trust you with the power to silence me? Why should anyone trust anyone with the power to silence them if that person isn't going to trust them with freedom of speech? I mean, this is the big question, isn't it? Like, what puts you in the position to be able to control other people's speech? What gives you that right? And why should people trust you if you aren't going to trust them with free speech? Why should people trust you to censor speech if you're not going to trust them with free speech? It like self-selects out the people who are untrustworthy.
Yep.
It's probably one of the most valuable things free speech does. Okay.
And that's why Twitter is, at least at this stage, number one, most people aren't on Twitter. So, you know, the average person is not on Twitter. Number two, of those who are on Twitter, a sizable number are just bots. So this is something that Musk brought up, and the reason why he's hesitant to, he's thinking, or he's like paused, I guess, or put on hold the purchase of Twitter, because he said that when he was making the offer, he had learned that 95% of the users on Twitter, or the accounts, are human beings, real human beings, and that only 5% of them were bots. And now he's learning that there's a lot more, but he doesn't know what the number is. And so he's like, well, if it turns out that there's a significant number of bots, then that means that there are very few actual users. And if there are very few actual users, I'm paying way too much for this platform. So what he may do is renegotiate the price. And I think that, honestly, I think that Twitter didn't want him to learn about how many bots there were. Like, they were working hard to hide that, because again, this goes back to the idea that it's sort of like a democratic idea that if there's a lot of people that agree or they believe this thing, then that means that this thing is a good thing because a lot of people believe it. And so like they use the same kind of approach where it's like, everybody's on Twitter, look at our numbers, but it turns out not that many people are on Twitter. And that there's a lot of people on Twitter that aren't even people. And so, you know, like that doesn't sound good. It sounds like it's an echo chamber. Because it almost is. Like, there are some, I guess you could say, dissenting voices on Twitter that go against the grain, like Allison and Hannah and, you know, some other, like, conservative commentators, libertarian commentators. I know that Michael Malice is on there, for example. But they're just sort of, like, there, for the most part, to stir up shit because it pisses people off, or they try to, like, you know, like libs of TikTok, you know, they try to share information. But it seems that the numbers may show that Twitter is not in any way representative of what people actually think. So it's not like a, you know, mirror into our actual culture, because it's been heavily distorted. So I think that I can take some solace in that. But I don't know if that means that Elon...
What would they find out if they did YouTube?
Yeah, well, I don't want to say because we're on YouTube, but I think that there's a point to be made there too. I think it's a different investigation. I think we'd learn some crazy shit about YouTube if we looked into it, to be honest, and Facebook. But you know, I don't know, like, I would like YouTube to be what it used to be. I think that there are still advantages on YouTube over other platforms. But
Mhm.
I don't know if that's going to change. They seem pretty like committed to this trajectory. So Susan
Yeah.
Wojcicki,
Unless
Yeah.
unless Elon Musk takes
yeah,
YouTube
unless he
to-
buys. But do we want him to buy everything though? You know, like that. I mean, I have my reservations about Elon Musk, to be honest. But it's everything he seems to want for Twitter. I like. So I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt. And at the end of the day, like if it turns out that Twitter gets worse, then I haven't missed anything because I'm not on it anyways. And he'll lose money, and that'll be the end of it because he can't force people on to join Twitter. So, there is that. As long as we have the option to not participate, then we can save ourselves.
All right. Yeah, like I think that so I think that's good.
Do it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that'll
so
do it.
I'm gonna put
All
a
right,
done here under the last Superchow to see if.
Yeah, okay. So once again, you can always send us a thank you and a message to feedthebadger.com/justthetip. Or if you would like to, please do help us fund the show for the month at feedthebadger.com/project/badger-media-blitz. And yeah, so you can send anything, just the tip at any time, and we will endeavor to read your comment on the next show that we have.
Yes.
And I think that this is a good update on the Twitter issue.
Yeah, I was gonna say something else. Can I mention something about Amber Heard?
Okay, yes, go ahead.
Did you hear? I heard. I don't know if this is true because I haven't looked to confirm it. But I heard that Amber Heard has been fired from her role in Aquaman 2. Hear that? I just learned about it like a little bit earlier today, and I honestly I was like not really thrilled with that. And it seems weird, but what? Is it true?
It says that Amber Heard claims Warner cut down her Aquaman role.
Who did what?
They just that. Okay, so Amber Heard claims others cut down her Aquaman 2 role.
Oh, they cut it down like it's a smaller
Okay.
role.
And all right, so Amber Heard.
That's funny.
According to Republic World, Amber Heard is fired from Jason Momoa's to report.
Yeah, see that's what I saw. I saw a headline.
Yeah, I know, but it's confirmed by Popcorn. According to Popcorn Planet, it has been confirmed.
That
Like,
she's got a smaller role, or that she's fired.
No, that she's fired, and I'm like, Popcorn Planet. I don't know. Like, are they?
Yeah. I don't know who they are, but
I think we have to wait for a bit.
I just wanted to use it to say, because I don't know if it's true or not, but I saw that I have like some men's rights activist types that are like following me on Facebook, that are friends with me on Facebook, and a couple of them have essentially like given constant updates on the Amber Heard Johnny Depp thing, but they've also been updating this petition to have Amber Heard removed from the Aquaman franchise. And I remember seeing yesterday, I think they said they were up to like 4 million signatures on the petition. And I just wanted to say that I actually am not a fan of that. I don't think it's actually very constructive to cancel Amber Heard. And I would consider this a cancellation, unlike something like a boycott. I think boycotts are better. Because like, look, she is a woman. She's going to be like, she's not going to end up dead after this is over. She's going to need work. I don't want her to be a burden on our country, on our society, by not being able to find any work anywhere, which means she's just going to get money from the government eventually. And that means that it's going to come out of my pocket and other people's pockets. So I'd rather that she had like a job, but I don't have to watch anything that she makes, if I don't want to. And so I think that that's good enough. And I guess that's my issue, because I don't think that making sure that no one ever finds work again. It's just not, even if they've made mistakes, even if they've done terrible things, you know, and lied and stole money and all that. We have systems in place for that. We have a justice system. We have all, you know, everything that we need is already there. So we'll just let that play out. And I guess, like, I don't know, it's just kind of like petty and vengeful. And I don't agree with that. I mean, I'm not going to watch Aquaman 2 no matter what, because I have no interest in it. So it does, you know, I don't care if Amber Heard is like the main fucking character, or if she like has one line of dialogue, or if she's an extra in the background like Jar Jar Binks was in the third prequel movie. I'm not going to watch it because I don't want to watch it. And I think that I would just say that there's a difference between boycotts and cancellation. I think boycotts are better because you're making an individual choice and you're not insisting or trying to pressure people into making financial decisions for something that you probably wouldn't have watched to begin with. So I just would, that's my thought on that, but I just wanted to bring it up briefly, and Allison has stepped away. I
also got a super chow.
Okay, cool.
We got a super chow. Yeah, okay, so the Great Indoors gives us $5, and so what you're saying is those scenes of the future in Terminator 2 are actually from the Twitterverse, like Tommy Sotomayor versus a TE-1000s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Let me.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Let me. Okay. Yeah, no, I just put done in there so we know where we're at. Yeah. Okay, so if you want to send a super chat, maybe, and we'll read it in the next one, then go to feedthebadger.com tip. And if you want to support us, feedthebadger.com/project/badger-media-play. All right. There you go, Brian.
All right. So we're going to wrap this up here. If you guys like this video, please smash the like button. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Also, subscribe to us over on Rumble, because a good number of videos go up there that don't go up here on Honey Badger Radio. So check out our Rumble shows. The Rumble channel is linked in the description. HB Radio on Rumble. Please leave us a comment. Let us know what you guys think about what we talked about. Have you seen these videos? What are your thoughts? Maybe you disagree with us on something. Go ahead and mention it. And lastly, and most importantly, please share this video. If you can share this with someone, even if there's someone who's probably going to hate it, go ahead and do it, because it can only help us out. Maybe they'll come and be like our new Carly and just troll us like forever. Thank you guys so much for coming on today's episode, and we will talk to you all in the next video.
Men's rights activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.